My whole life I've been a Thomas the Tank Engine fan. Even as I got older, I still loved watching the episodes and playing with my engines. People at school and my family always made fun of me for being Thomas's fan at 12 years old, but I didn't care. I loved Thomas the Tank Engine. My father hated that I still loved Thomas. He always told me to grow up and quit being a baby. He tried getting me into sports like basketball or football, but I didn't care for them. All I cared about was watching Thomas and playing with all my toy engines. My mom was the only one who supported my love for Thomas. She always would get me new toy engines on my birthday, and she would always buy me new episodes when I ran out. My parents would always fight about my obsession for Thomas. I would hear them outside my room at night arguing.
Damn it, Jess, he is almost 13 years old. He needs to grow up,
my father said.
Stop it, Dave. He loves the kids' show, so what? Instead of making fun of him and bullying him, you should support him and love him,
my mother said. They argued a lot back then. Every time they argued, I would cry, knowing their problems were caused by me. I tried to get into other things. My parents bought me a PlayStation that I tried playing. I tried playing Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Halo, but I just didn't enjoy playing them. All I ever truly enjoyed were my Thomas episodes and my toy trains. Nothing else. One day when I got back from school, I decided to watch an episode. I went into my closet where I kept all the DVDs of Thomas. As I looked around for a new episode to watch, something caught my eye. It was an old VHS tape tucked away in the back of the closet. I reached over and grabbed it, staring at the title scribbled on a piece of tape that read, Sir Topham Hatt's Day Off. That's strange, I say aloud to no one. I looked around at the rest of the closet, which was full of DVDs, but no VHS tapes. I didn't have a VHS player in the living room, but I knew my parents had one in their room. I headed upstairs where I am greeted by my father at the top.
What do you got there, son?
He asked, pointing to the tape. Oh, just an old movie. I lie. He snatched the tape before I could react. He looked at it slowly, then asked,
Is this a Thomas episode?
Yes, I said, knowing I couldn't lie. My father stared at me hard and long. He looked in a way a father looks at his son who failed a test, or the way a father disapproves of something. He handed me the VHS tape back and said,
Son, do you have any friends?
I paused, then lied, saying, Yeah, of course I do.
Don't lie to me. I'm your father. I can tell when you're lying.
I hang my head down in shame. Tears slowly form in my eyes.
Son, until you get over this stupid obsession, no one is going to want to be your friend. I just want you to be happy, son. That's all,
he said. Crying now, I can barely get out. Okay. He handed me the tape and walked downstairs slowly. I cried for a good minute on top of the stairs. I wish my father was proud of me, but I knew all he saw in me was a big baby, a failure of a son. After I wiped the tears away and head into my parents' room, this will be my final episode. I think to myself, my parents have a big room with white walls painted with flowers, with the carpet a silky golden color, and their bed is huge with red covers. The real prize, though, is the flat screen TV. It was a newer model that stretched almost the whole length of the wall. I spot the VHS tape player under the TV. I walk over to it and put the tape in. I grab the remote, which is sitting on the desk drawer near the bed, and turn the TV on. The screen is white before the movie starts to play. The episode started out with no theme song or narration, just Sir Topham Hatt sitting in his office, writing in a journal. He wrote for a good 5 minutes before he put the pen down and looked outside the window to his office. The trains were busy as usual, carrying loads of coal or picking up passengers from the station. Sir Topham Hatt just stared at them, silently with a frown on his face. He then walked over to his desk and began to write again. The video then cut to Thomas at the Knapford station, waiting to pick up passengers. Thomas has this weird look on his face. His face is scrunched up in an almost painful way, and his eyes are a dark red now, instead of black. He picked up the passengers, then started to drive. He still had that painful look on his face as he drove, like if you accidentally bumped your head into a wall. There is still no narrator, so the only thing you can hear was the sound of Thomas chugging along the tracks. Thomas dropped the passengers off at the next station, then started to head back to the Tidmouth sheds. For those that aren't acquainted with Thomas the Tank Engine, that's where he and the other trains lived and slept. Once he got back, for some reason, the sky turned a reddish-yellow color, like the color of fire. He then headed over to his shed, and after getting inside, he closed his eyes and fell asleep. The video showed all the trains sleeping peacefully now. The only thing that could be heard was the sound of the crickets chirping and wind blowing. Then the video suddenly cut back to Sir Topham Hatt crying now. He was holding something in his hands that I couldn't see. He cried so loud and hard you would think someone he loved had died. He cried in a way that you could see his shadow shaking in the light. He then stopped suddenly, frozen in place. Then he slowly turned to the camera, and to my horror, his eyes, oh my God, were now bloodshot red, and he had an abnormally wide smile on his face with a gun in his hand. He walked out of his office and headed to the sheds where the trains were sleeping. He opened the gate for Thomas's shed and walked inside. He stared at Thomas with his wide red eyes for a good minute, and then to my horror, he slowly raised the gun and shot Thomas in the head. Thomas's eyes went white as blood started to pour out from his head. The trains were wide awake now from the gunshot. They started to panic as Sir Topham Hatt walked out of Thomas's shed, gun in hand. He walked over to Percy's shed and then shot her in the head, and then did the same with James, Henry, Gordon, and everyone else. I was frozen with fear now. I could feel goosebumps all over me, and I tried to close my eyes, but I couldn't as they were glued to the TV. The image of the dead trains would haunt me long after that day. Nightmares would haunt my sleep for so long. The video now pans to each train, all with white eyes and a huge hole in their head, blood spilling out. Sir Topham Hatt's grin is now so wide, it looks as if his gums were going to snap. He turned to the camera now, staring right at me. It felt as if he was staring into my soul, with blood all over his jacket and face, smiling like it was his birthday. He then slowly raised the gun to his head, and I closed my eyes as I heard a loud bang from the TV. I didn't open my eyes for a good minute or two, and when I did, the TV was blank. I sit unable to move, petrified with fear. Somehow I break out this trance. I run over and grab the VHS tape out of the player, turning off the TV in the process. I ran downstairs and threw the VHS tape in the garbage. I then ran back upstairs into my room and froze. I saw all my trains and posters of Thomas in my room, and the sight of them made me reach my breaking point. I screamed as I ripped off all the posters and started to blame. My parents came rushing in and tried to calm me down, but I couldn't. I was overwhelmed and terrified. The image of Thomas and everyone was burned into my head, and worst of all was the image of Sir Topham Hatt and his wide bloody smile. It's been 2 years since I saw the tape. My parents hired a therapist to try and help me cope with what I saw. It didn't help. I was mentally broken at that point. I would have nightmares of Sir Topham Hatt and the dead bodies of the trains every night, and I would wake in a hot sweat screaming after each one. As time went on though, I started to forget about the tape slowly. My therapist gave me a trick for when I would think about the tape. She gave a small red stress ball. I know real cheesy, but it did help. Every time I would think about the tape and the images, I would just squish the ball, and somehow that made me forget about them. Today was my last appointment with my therapist.
How are you feeling, Greg?
She said after we sat down in her office. Good, I said.
It's been 2 years now since the incident happened. Do you think you've recovered from it fully?
She said. I think so. I haven't had any nightmares recently or thought about the images. I said.
Good. Well, then I'll make this session short by giving you a little test to see if you truly have recovered.
She said. She opened up her bag and pulled out a Thomas the Tank Engine toy. At first I started to panic, sweating profusely and squishing my stress ball faster and faster. The memories started to come back.
It's okay, Greg. Just breathe,
she said. I started to calm my breathing, and I closed my eyes and opened them and stared at the Thomas toy. She handed it to me slowly, and I inspected it. It looked like the old one I had before I threw it away with the rest of my trains, DVDs, and anything else that had to do with Thomas. Now, I felt nothing when I looked at the train. I just saw a toy and nothing else. I handed the toy back her as she said,
Good. You've passed the final test. I think you're all good to go,
she said as she stood up. Thanks for helping me, Dr. Slayer, I said as I started to walk out.
Of course, Greg. I'll miss having you as my patient,
she said as I walked out. I walked out of her office and outside where my mom picked me up. As we drove home, I turned on the radio, which broadcasted a story that I turned up to listen to.
Breaking news in the area as a 10-year-old girl had been found dead in her house.
As then continues.
The child was found in her parents' bedroom where she shot herself with her father's gun that they kept in a drawer near the TV. When the parents found her, the TV was blank, and when expected, there was a tape inside. The tape contained a Thomas the Tank Engine episode called Sir Topham Hatt's Day Off. Local authorities have declared the death of suicide, and...
My mom then quickly shut off the radio, then turned and said,
Honey, are you okay?
I couldn't speak or move. The images now and the tape all came flying back to me. I squished my ball harder and faster than I ever had before, but it didn't help. The dead trains, the blood, the smile all came rushing back to me as I let out a loud scream in the car. As soon as I got home, I ran up to my room and went into my computer where I am typing this now. This is not a joke. Do not try to find the tape or watch it. It's not worth it. Somehow I got lucky that day. That girl who watched it didn't. I write this also as a warning to parents. If your kids are Thomas the Tank Engine fans, be careful what you buy. Always check the DVDs if a child sees this tape. Well, I think we know what will happen. Please, I beg all of you, parents, people, or anyone, if you find a Thomas the Tank Engine episode called Sir Topham Hatt's Day Off, don't watch it.